Powerlifters who compete attempt 1 repetition maximum loads for 3 power lifts, which are back squat, bench press and deadlift. Each lift is contested under strict judging conditions, and the maximum loads successfully lifted for each competition lift are summed together for a powerlifting total. The primary training adaptation desired for powerlifting is therefore to improve maximal force output in all 3 competitive lifts. Prior to competition, in order to manage and mitigate fatigue, athletes often reduce their training by incorporating a taper, with the aim of peaking specific fitness characteristics, for example, maximal strength. Specifically, the taper is a progressive, non-linear reduction of the training load during a variable period of time in an attempt to reduce the physiological and psychological stress of daily training in order to optimize performance. There are 3 types of tapers typically used to achieve this reduction, which are a linear taper, an exponential taper, and a step taper. When using a linear taper, the training load is reduced in a systematic linear type fashion. For example, a 15% reduction in training load each week for 4 weeks. For an exponential taper, the training load is reduced in an exponential fashion either slowly, i.e. a slow decay, or suddenly, i.e. a fast decay. Whereas, if using a step taper, the training load is suddenly reduced by a constant amount, for example 50%. Following a taper or in place of a taper, training cessation may be implemented. Training cessation can be defined as planned days of complete rest where all sporting activities cease, whilst continuing everyday activities. Tapering and training cessation for powerlifters and other strength and power athletes is extremely important to achieve optimal performance. The article published in the journal Sports, titled Tapering and Peaking Maximal Strength for Powerlifting Performance, a review by S. Kyle Travis and colleagues, reviewed the literature on tapering and training cessation practices relative to peaking powerlifting performance. This presentation, brought to you by Talking Sports Science, will provide a summary of their recommendations on tapering and training cessation based on the evidence reviewed. In terms of training volume, i.e. sets times repetitions times training load, this should be reduced by approximately 30 to 70%. For intensity, it is recommended to maintain training intensity at 85% and above of 1 repetition maximum, or reduce training intensity, while using either an exponential or step taper model. This is to manipulate the distribution of work over a 1 to 2 week period, followed by a short-term training cessation spanning between 2 to 7 days. However, Travis and colleagues also acknowledge that some athletes may need modifications outside the recommended ranges to achieve their desired performance outcomes. And that concludes the recommendations on tapering and training cessation to improve strength performance. Thanks for listening, folks. See you next time.